where would you peg the percentage-wise the potential for recession in the United States? I know you took out pretty big European short position, so specifically the United States.
Yeah.
So this conference was held recently in 2018. He's talking about the probability of recession in 2019 and 2020, the next few years.
I would say that the probability of a recession prior to the next election is
Midterm or presidential?
Presidential election. I think very low in terms of, I don't think we're going to have a recession anytime soon. I think we're not even in a bubble stage yet. I think we're in a pre-bubble stage that could go into a bubble stage because of this thing that then could be followed by a bust phase.
Just keep in mind the next presidential election will occur at the end of 2020.
And so that in that last phase of the cycle would be my guess. And I would say that the probability of a recession in prior to the next presidential election would be relatively high. What would I say? I don't know, 70% or something like that?
That's a pretty harsh judgment. So 70% recession probability by the end of 2020 by one of the greatest hedge fund managers in the world.
70%, even though we're not yet at a bubble phase. So that's 2.5 years to 70% chance that within 2.5 years we get to the bubble, through the bubble, to the bust.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just as skeptical as this guy. It's going to take longer than 2 or 3 years to get to a bubble and then a bust.
I want to say I'm scared about a recession. And I'm scared about a recession mostly because there are these two economies that exist. In other words, I did a piece, it's on our website or on LinkedIn, that breaks the economy into two economies. The top 40%, the bottom 60%. What's the majority of those like?
That's a great piece. It's on my YouTube channel, broken up into clips, and the full-length feature is on Ray Dalio's YouTube channel.
And so on. And I have another sort of principle. If there's a big difference between, let's say, rich and poor, and you share a budget, so you have to discuss how the pie is divided, and you have an economic downturn, you have conflict.
There's no doubt about that. Inequality is definitely rising, and in a downturn, that's going to create a lot of conflict. And one thing that Ray Dalio has not mentioned, which I think is important, is that although inequality is definitely rising these days, the people who are in extreme poverty is declining rapidly.
And so I would say that that's why I'm more worried about an economic downturn and think that monetary policy should be more asymmetric.
So what do you mean here? Like a progressive tax system?
Because I think, okay, supposing we had a 2.5% inflation rate or a 3% inflation rate. Okay, that's not the best. I mean, you don't want to have a bubble and that it's going to bust, but it shouldn't have we're all not going to be crying about that. That will not be the thing. So I think there's asymmetric, and I think also the asymmetry having to do with monetary policy, how much you can lower interest rates, how effective QE is in the next dosage, and those kinds of things are things that are concerns.